Peace, love, and light, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Marquita. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. And if you are a returning user, welcome back. I am super grateful to have all of you here in this space with me. We are on the road to 250 subscribers. If you all can do me a favor and show some love, like, comment, share to help me get to my next goal of 250 subscribers, I would greatly appreciate it. So today we're going to talk about minding the ego and being spirit led. I'm going to discuss with you all what ego is. I'm going to discuss with you all what it means to be spirit led. And I am also going to give you a real life example of what I have personally experienced that has made me be more mindful about being spirit led opposed to ego led. So, first, what is the ego? The ego is your identity. It is your earth bound being here in this time and space. So what you like, what you don't like, how you like to dress, your appearance, who you are, like the things that like the personality traits that make up who you are. That is your ego self. The ego operates in I and me. All right. To be ego led can be something, for example, like I chose to move to silent because I got tired of paying bills in the United States. That is a very ego led or ego minded decision. And so, one thing that I want to emphasize is that the ego is not bad, right? The ego is not a bad thing. I think that we have this idea that being egotistical is like a bad thing when it's not. You have to be in connection with your ego in order to operate this plane, in order to be here on earth. Like you have to be in connection, and like there's no way to ego death is not a real thing, right? Like there's no way to get rid of the ego because the ego is what grounds you here in this time and space here on earth. I think that there is a vast difference between being egotistical and just being mindful of your ego. Now I'm going to explain to you what it means to be spirit led. Spirit led means that you are operating from a higher consciousness. You are operating from a space where it is not all about you. You are operating from a space where you do things and you might not even understand why you are doing them in a moment, but your spirit is leading you and you're just following the breadcrumbs. That is what it means to be spirit led. And so, like I said before, it's not bad to, be in connection and, be egotistical and be, ego minded. It's just better or best. It's easier. For some people, it's easier. For some, it's not. I have found that it's personally easier for me to be spirit led. And here's why. So I had decided that this is just one example. This happens to me often, right? Like, this happens often. Like, yeah. But I had decided that I wanted to get a job. So, just a little backstory. In 2019, I was fired from my traditional 9 to 5 position. And from 2019 all the way up until this year, 2026, I have not worked like a traditional 9 to 5. Like, I've worked like very non traditional roles in which I've worked like contracts, like travel contracts, and where I take a travel contract and I go and I work it for a brief period of time and then I return home. And so I had been doing that, but I wasn't doing it very often. Like I would do it periodically, and when it was like a strike or something like that where it was very high paying and very lucrative and important for me to like do it. So I wasn't doing it often. Pretty much I have been free floating and doing my own thing since 2019. Like, so, but what I had decided is that I have a goal. And one of my biggest goals right now is for me to buy a duplex because I want to have a place for myself, and then I also want to have a place to rent out. So that's one of my, big goals. And so I was like, well, if I want to buy this duplex, I need to get serious, right? Like I need to get serious about the steps that it takes. I'm thinking all from my logical mind, planning it out. Like these are all the steps that it takes for me to get to this goal. Mind you, I also moved to California in December, right? Just because I be doing stuff, like packed all my stuff up, sold everything, all within like a month's time, and I moved to California. I was living in North Carolina. So I got to California, and then I thought about, the goals that I had and things that I wanted to work towards. So I was like, okay, well, I know that I always make really great money when I go to California. And so I reached out to my friend who was going to be working a contract in Northern California. And I'm like, hey, can you get me on? Or whatever the situation may have you. And she got me in. I signed for a 6 month contract, which is not something that I normally do. Like I would not normally sign for 6 months because that's a long time for me to be working a job. Like I don't do it often. So like that's a long time for me to actually be working a position. So I got the position. The lady interviewed me. She didn't really interview me. She just asked me a couple of questions, but I came highly recommended by this friend of mine. So she respected and had reverence for me, and she was like, "All right, cool. Like, you can come on." So mind you guys, like these contracts pay like a lot. Like I would have been getting $3,000 a week for 6 months. So I'm like, bet like this will help me save my money. This will help me get on the right track to purchasing a home. I get there. So leading up to it, like it was just something in me that was like, oh, like I really, like I just had like this angst, like this. I just really was like, oh, do I really want to do this? So that was the first like thing. That was a red flag because if there's any time where you are debating whether or not you should do something, it's 9 times out of 10 you should not be doing it. The things that you really want to do is an immediate yes, and you don't have to second guess. Like it's intuitive led and it's spirit led when it's an immediate boom. Let me just do this. When you bring in the logical mind and start thinking about the details on whatever you're doing, that's when you are leading and that's when you are acting from ego, which is okay, right? Like I'm still like, want to emphasize that it's not bad to operate from ego. Like it's not a bad thing. It just depends on who you are and I guess your trajectory in life. So boom, I get there. I get up to Northern California. The first day I walk into the place, I was like, something is off. Something is off in this space. And then mid shift, I got sick to my stomach. I got sick to my stomach. And being sick to my stomach is anything that has to do with my stomach. I'm a Virgo. So anything that has to do with my stomach is my telltale sign that I should not be doing it. All right. So I got sick. The next day I called in because I really wasn't feeling well. And so then I continue. Like I continue on, I continue to come. At this point I'm in training and I'm doing the things, I'm learning the things. And just to sum up this story because I don't want to go into too many details because it's not really necessary. But long story short, I end up getting fired 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, out of training, got fired. And I was like, Spirit told me, Spirit told me. My higher self signaled to me that this was not in alignment with who I am and where I'm going and where I'm headed. Spirit gave me the signs and the communication that this is not in alignment with the goals that I have. But my ego self was like, this is a fast way, a more logical way, and a more lucrative way to get to where I wanted to go. I just seen a chipmunk. That is divine alignment, girl. Because where did that chipmunk come from? Anyway, so yeah, like I end up getting fired. The reason why I got fired still unknown to me, still unknown to me. But I do know. But the reason that was like, so I got fired because of discrimination. Period. Point blank. It was definitely a discrimination issue. Like that's what it was. But like the logical reason why I got fired was never like I still don't know. I walked away from there and I was like, girl, you know better. You know better. Like I know better. I know that I am beyond that kind of work and that kind of contribution. I know that my impact is far beyond it, but it was a reason why I was there. And so this goes back to what I'm talking about being spirit led. When I originally went to California, I did not know why I was being led to go to California, but I just went. I just went with no plan. I sold everything. I sold my car. I sold everything that I had bought in my new house in North Carolina. Like, I sold everything and I went to California. I didn't know. I did not know when I went the reason why, but I just went. So that was the spirit led part. That was the spirit led part. I had to go there because I was the catalyst for a change that needed to be made within that office. That lady ended up being forced into early retirement just because of what happened with me, right? So it's like I was spirit led in the sense of like I just went to California, but also it was a part where it was like ego, and it took my ego took a hit because I was like dang, this kind of is destabilizing. Like I came all the way here, and like this is what happened. So it was like a sense of like my ego was hit because it felt destabilizing, from being fired. Like, but also in the grand scheme of things, spirit put me there because I'm not the one to be played with. I speak up. I have boundaries. I don't let people walk over me. I speak my truth. I do, like, I'm just not. I'm just not. That's why I don't work traditional roles, because I have like such a you're not gonna like treat me like any kind of way kind of mindset and perspective on things. And so it took me having to be the catalyst because they didn't really have a reason to fire me, right? Like they didn't really have a reason to fire me. And so because of that, the people in the office were really outraged. They were really hurt. And the black women, the black and the brown women in the office were really hurt by what had happened to me. I was not even as hurt as they were, but I understood because they had been experiencing it and they had seen so many other women come in and experience the same things. But it took me having to come in and say, like, nah, nah, before the change was actually, taken serious within the office. And so that's my story. That is my story. It is so important to follow spirit. You never really know where spirit will put you and in what situations spirit is putting you in, like for your highest good, and for the highest good of the collective. It's not about me. It was never about me. It hasn't been about me. A lot of the work that I do and a lot of the things and places that I go, it's never about me. Um, a lot of the times it's not about me. And I am told to go a lot of places. I travel a lot of places. I'm all over. I'm very nomadic. But most of the time, and nine times out of 10, it's not about me. And so I just have learned over the years to just listen. Because when I don't listen, when I don't follow my spirit, when I don't allow spirit to lead, then I'm placed in a position where I feel like I'm scrambling. I'm placed in a position where my mental health is taking a hit. I'm placed in a position where I feel like I'm being knocked off like a rock. And it's unnecessary. So as I have grown and evolved in my spiritual practice and in my spiritual self and just grown in who I am and what I know is truth, I'm learning every single day to mind my ego. Mind my ego. That doesn't mean that I'm not, still making choices out of the things that I like and enjoy. But as much as I possibly can, I try to involve spirit. I ask for confirmations all day long. Spirit, what is it that you want me to do? If you want me to do this, give me this sign. If you want me to do that, give me this sign. I try to involve spirit, my spirit team, my spirit guides, and my ancestors in everything that I'm doing now because they got my back. I don't have to make every decision. I don't have to do things by myself. I'm not. I never have been. Right? It's only now that my awareness of it is just like, has grown. And so, yeah, that is what I got. If you enjoyed that message, if that resonated with you in any capacity, please leave me a comment. I will be in the comments responding if you do decide to do so. And yeah, give me 250 subscribers. Get me there. I would greatly appreciate it. But until next time, peace, love, and light, beautiful souls. I hope you enjoyed that interpretation. Peace.